Joyce Manor are back with their new album, 40 Ounces to Fresno. They're one of my favorite bands, so I'm super excited to talk about the new album. Let's get into it. If the album title sounds familiar, that's because it is. Speaking of Brooklyn Vegan, the band talked about the album title. As for the title of the album, it came from an autocorrected text about Sublime's 1992 debut. The record was going to be called Hungover Again, but that kind of started to feed into this lore, and I was like, that's a bit much. I was listening to 40 Ounces to Freedom for the first time in about 7 or 8 years, and it was blowing me away. I couldn't believe how many good songs were on it that I'd forgotten about. And so I texted a friend of mine and was like, when was the last time you listened to 40 Ounces to Freedom? But it auto-corrected to Fresno. And I was like, 40 Ounces to Fresno. I liked the ring of it. It sounded very Joyce Manor-y. To me, it's kind of bleak. It's alcohol, misanthropic. I love Fresno, but it's kind of a bleak place. A little subtle nod to Sublime, who I think are an effing great band. Completely no sense of irony at all saying that. As a die-hard Joyce Manor fan, it would be really cool to have the new album called Hungover Again and have all this, these connections and lore, be a big fan of the interconnected Joyce Manor cinematic universe. But that album, or this new album, if it was titled, that would have just been endlessly compared to Never Hungover Again, the band's, best and most beloved album by fans. So it would be a weird way to introduce 40 Ounces to Fresno, and it would just lock the album in a box. Lead singer Barry Johnson also detailed how the album came together. I realized I had a handful of things where I was like, I think I could do something with this if I worked on that a little more. I think there's something there. Among those discoveries was Secret Sisters, which Joyce Manor recorded during the sessions for 2014's Never Hungover Again, but shelved, and which ended up kind of becoming the catalyst for their new album, 40 Ounces to Fresno, and its final track. Secret Sisters kind of slams in that emo way, Barry said, and I was like, we don't have a ton of stuff that kind of slams, so it inspired them to come up with another song in that style, Fresno's instantly satisfying lead single, Gotta Let It Go. And it informed the direction of their cover of Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, Souvenir. There's also a through line between Secret Sisters and the album's second song, Never Be the Same Again, a song that Barry wrote shortly after finishing 2012's Of All Things I Will Soon Grow Tired, and then changed the chords, melody, and lyrics until he ultimately had written an entirely different song, which was Secret Sisters. 40 Ounces to Fresno is sort of a hodgepodge of an album with a mix of old songs, new songs, and a cover, and just 9 short tracks in total. Old songs, new songs, a cover, short songs. I hope everyone was as excited about the album as I was when I was reading the articles. While doing research for the video, I did find some interesting quotes from Barry about $1 Million to Kill Me, which I think is the most polarizing album from the band. I think a lot of people rank that as the worst Joyce Manor album. Now, is it, this giant anthemic punk rock album? No, not really, but Joyce Manor gave that to us 4 times up to that point. I recently went back to $1 Million to Kill Me, and it still holds up as long as you don't go into it expecting Never Hungover Again, Part 2. By 2018's $1 Million to Kill Me, Johnson acknowledges, it seemed like we were trying to make it or transcend the genre, like we were trying to become a big radio rock band, which isn't really true because I know how ridiculous that is. Nevertheless, Epitaph owner Brett Gurewitz claimed it was one of the best albums ever released on his label, right up there with Rancid's and Out Come the Wolves. But Johnson had begun to feel like Joyce Manor's pivot towards power pop had reached a dead end. I wanted to make a weirder Joyce Manor record. And I totally agree with the band. I don't think going for the big radio rock band thing really makes sense anymore. We've seen bands throughout the scene's history kind of go for that. I honestly think it would have made more sense for Joyce Manor to go for that big TikTok rock band thing than more than a radio rock thing, certainly at this point. Alright, let's dive into 40 Ounces to Fresno. The thing that immediately stood out to me first was the length. We knew the songs were going to be short, and obviously the album was going to be short, but the total runtime is 16 minutes and 43 seconds, and honestly, it even feels shorter than that. Before reading about the album and all the interviews that came out beforehand, I didn't know that track 1 was going to be a cover, but even if you didn't know that track 1 was a cover and you just thought it was an original Joyce Manor song, I think it fits. I don't think anybody would say that that song is out of place for being a Joyce Manor song. It might be out of place, kind of weird that a cover is the first song on the album, but it is Joyce Manor. It fits that Joyce Manor vibe. Never Be the Same Again sounds great. I love this version. And then we dive into the new song, starting off with Reason to Believe, which kind of has like a nighttime summer drive kind of a vibe. And then we have You're Not Famous Anymore, which is kind of a mean song. We know that from interviews with the band that this song is about other bands and artists that came up in the scene around the same time as Joyce Manor did, and it's pretty direct. And then we get the two singles, Don't Try and Gotta Let It Go, my two favorite songs on the album. Really kind of a classic Joyce Manor vibe on both of these songs, and the opening of Gotta Let It Go instantly hooks you and makes you want to jump around. Dance With Me is another one of my favorite songs on the album, and not to be too obvious, but the song just makes you want to dance around. And then we have Did You Ever Know and Secret Sisters, and both songs really haven't caught on to me yet. They really haven't stood out to me, but I will say that Secret Sisters does sound like something that would be on Never Hungover Again, so that makes sense. And then the album ends. I'm glad that the band didn't name the album Hungover Again, because to me, 40 Ounces to Fresno is way more $1 Million to Kill Me than Never Hung Over Again. It's like a more upbeat $1 Million to Kill Me, kind of something that would be like at the end of a coming-of-age movie where the main character is driving away and is on to better things. It's funny because what do punk fans want? They want short, fast, intense songs. And you do get that on 40 Ounces to Fresno, but I did want a little more. But what we do get is 16 minutes and 43 seconds of new Joyce Manor, and I'll take that every day. What do you think of the new Joyce Manor album, 40 Ounces to Fresno? Let me know down in the comments below. Please like and share the video, subscribe if you haven't, it really helps me out. Tell all your friends, follow me on Twitter, and as always, thanks for watching.